Hey guys, what's good? Derek here from Bomb Socks with more Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ one bite at a time. So I'm excited today to share with you the importance of the Gospel of Mark, okay? Now, just to show you a little bit of a contrast between Matthew, who's the first one, and then Mark after that. So Matthew is the longest. It's 28 chapters. Matthew, as we've talked about, he was an apostle, personally knew, he walked and talked with Jesus. His gospel focused on Jesus' teachings so that the Jews would recognize him as the promised Messiah. Okay, 28 chapters, it is the longest. You go to the Gospel of Mark, it is the shortest, okay? It is 16 chapters. Mark, also known as John Mark, was not an apostle, possibly did not know the Savior personally. He most likely was around during that time period, probably a younger man at the time, maybe even a teenager, but might not have known Jesus Christ, but it was written under the direction of Peter. We learned that in the Bible dictionary. Now, one of the coolest things about Mark has the least amount of unique material. Now, again, you'll see why that's cool in a second here. Only 7%, which means 93% is also found in the other Gospels. So 7%. He puts emphasis more on what Jesus did versus what he taught, keeping in mind this was from more of Peter's perspective. So Peter commissioned Mark to be able to write a lot of stuff down. So it's short, and it only contains 7%. So I guess the question is, what is the 7% unique stuff about Mark? So one interesting difference that I've noticed about Mark's gospel than the others is 2 words. Now, these 2 words are found 74 times in the Gospels. 37 of them, so that's 50% of them, are found in the shortest gospel, which is Mark. So they're most often mentioned in the book of Mark. While it's only 13 times, which is like 17% of them, are found in the longest book, which is Matthew. Now you're probably wondering, Derek, what are those 2 words? Well, I will show you. Now, these 2 words are found about 10 times just in Mark chapter 1. This is where you find the concentration of them here. So verse number 10 of Mark chapter 1, it says, "And straightway coming up out of the water," this is talking about Jesus' baptism, "he saw the heavens open and the Spirit like the dove descending upon him." You go down to verse number 12, it says, "Immediately the Spirit driveth him into the wilderness." Okay, so those 2 words are straightway and immediately. Now, what does the word straightway mean? Straightway means in a direct course or immediately. Okay, what does immediately mean? Without interval of time, or straightway, okay? So there's things that happen just fast. And you go all through Mark chapter 1 and you see these everywhere. For example, verse 18, this is where it talks about calling the apostles who were fishermen. It says, "Straightway they forsook their nets and followed him." Verse number 20, "Straightway he called them and they left their father Zebedee." This is James and John. Verse 21, "They went into Capernaum and straightway on the Sabbath day they entered the synagogue." So Mark is just moving fast. Verse number 28, "Immediately his fame spread abroad throughout all the region of Galilee." And verse 29 is kind of fun. "Forthwith," which if you click on the word forthwith, it means without delay or immediately. "They were come out of the synagogue." You go to verse 30, "Simon's wife's mother," so his mother-in-law, "lay sick with a fever, and anon they tell him of her." What does anon mean? Immediately. Verse 31, "He came and took her by the hand, lifted her up, and immediately the fever left her." Verse number 42, Jesus is cleansing a leper, and as soon as he had spoken, immediately the leprosy departed from him. Now, you're probably wondering, this is fantastic. This is so cool. Straightway and immediately, right? There is a gospel principle with this that I think is pretty important. It reminds me of back in 2019. In fact, it was April of 2019. Elder Kyle S. McKay gave a talk called "The Immediate Goodness of God." Because I know as you're sitting here thinking about this, how this is a gospel that is straightway and immediate. It just seems like things are just happening fast. And you're probably sitting here going, "Yeah, Derek, this is great, but I've been waiting for an answer to a prayer for a long time, and it just hasn't been coming." Now, in Elder McKay's talk, he talks about what happens when you are waiting on the Lord and how sometimes that is an immediate blessing to you. He said, when Alma and his people were captured by the Lamanites, they prayed for deliverance. They were not immediately delivered, but while they patiently waited for deliverance, the Lord showed forth his goodness with certain immediate blessings. He immediately softened the hearts of the Lamanites so they wouldn't slay them. He also strengthened Alma's people and eased their burdens. When they finally were delivered, they traveled to Zarahemla, where they recounted their experience to an amazed audience. The people of Zarahemla marveled when they thought of the immediate goodness of God and his power in delivering Alma and his brethren out of bondage. They did raise their voices and give thanks unto God. The immediate goodness of God comes to all who call upon him with real intent and full purpose of heart. This includes those who cry out in earnest desperation when deliverance seems so distant and suffering seems prolonged and even intensified. I love that message right there. So as you go through the book of Mark, and I know it's a fast gospel, and this is just Mark chapter 1 this week, I want you to see the immediate and straightway goodness of God as you go through that. And there's some cool things that you can see there as you look for that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks, as always, for sharing these messages. So grateful, as always, that you do that. Check out our amazingly comfortable gospel theme socks at bombsocks.com. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Godspeed. Bye-bye.